Can Zhen Huan, blessed with both beauty and talent, truly outshine all in the imperial harem and enjoy everlasting favor? In July, the heat intensified, and the long-awaited refreshing rain finally arrived after the emperor and empress jointly prayed for it. A torrential rain dispersed the indescribable discomfort of the heat and drought, bringing immense blessings to the common people, and also diluted the sorrow and gloom in the palace due to the loss of 2 sons. Thus, the music of strings and bamboo, silent for a long time, once again filled the space between the purple roof and yellow beams of the court. On the day after the heavy rain, when the air was still fresh with the scent of water, Xianling announced to the women of the harem that a banquet would be held in the Chrysanthemum Lake Cloud Shadow Hall on the Longfang Island of the Tai Pool to celebrate. Perhaps the palace indeed needed such a feast to dispel the sinister atmosphere of consecutive losses of children. The Chrysanthemum Lake Cloud Shadow Hall was built among 10 miles of lotus flowers, with a pavilion on all 4 sides facing the wind, constructed from the whitewood special to Silla. Crystal curtains moved with the breeze, and thin bamboo curtains of the Xiangfei bamboo were half-dropped, half-rolled, facing the clear water and white lotuses, epitomizing elegance. Outside the hall, the sky was clear, and the initial ripples on the water mingled with the light, creating a single shade of azure. On the water's edge, fragrant herbs and orchids flourished, lush and green, bringing joy and happiness to those drinking by the wind. The consorts present were all of high status and favored in the palace, naturally excluding the fallen consort Murong. After Tianfei and I had our miscarriages, to avoid evoking painful memories, Xianling seldom visited us, and his favor towards me diminished significantly. Therefore, in a situation where favor was suspended, the consorts in power spared no effort to vie for Xianling's affection by displaying their unique charms. Yet, deep down, even though I understood why he treated Murong Fei with leniency, I couldn't help but harbor some resentment. Beyond this resentment, there was also a sense of self-pity and sorrow. Among the colorful flowers and green willows, the empress exuded a lofty and serene demeanor. Jing Fei's posture was gentle and amiable. Xian Gui Fei was cheerful and lively, endearing to those who saw her. Mei Zhuang was quiet and elegant, inspiring a sense of tranquility. Chao Ronghua's bright eyes shimmered with shyness. Qin Fangyi's waist was slender as a willow. Lu Shunfei's brows, slightly furrowed, evoked a sense of delicate beauty. Du Tianfei's lazy makeup, with its blush-pink cheeks, sparked a feeling of tender care. The other ladies, each with their own charm or grace, touched the heart in their own ways. With my state of mind, I couldn't blend into this splendid scene. In such a pallid mood, even my choice of clothing was a plain silver-white silk garment, and I wore a simple, flat bun adorned with a pearl-studded silver hairpin, choosing a secluded seat, blending into the crowd. When Xianling saw me, his gaze carried a restrained compassion, but I was startled nonetheless, reminded of my child who never came into this world, feeling a deep sorrow, and I quietly wiped away my tears. In such a gathering filled with the fragrance of flowers, Xianling appeared indifferent, not showing much interest. Seeing his lackluster spirit, the empress suggested, although it's customary to hold a selection every 3 years, given the recent tragedies in the palace, if your majesty agrees, we could make an exception and bring in some new faces to keep your majesty company. Xianling was non-committal but appreciated the empress's generosity. I understand your magnanimity, but I'm not in the mood right now. His gaze deepened. Besides, while new faces are appealing, truly remarkable beauties are rare. Understanding his point, the empress quickly smiled and said, "The inner court has arranged a new song, and we invite your majesty to enjoy it." Xianling responded politely with a smile. "I've had too much to drink today, perhaps another day." However, the empress insisted. "The singers have practiced for a long time and wish to entertain your majesty." The empress was usually compliant, rarely standing firm against Xianling's wishes. Today's insistence was unusual, and since Xianling had great respect for the empress, he didn't want to disappoint her and agreed. "All right." The hall was eerily quiet, with occasional cool breezes lifting the half-rolled bamboo curtains, bringing a faint scent of lotus leaves and water chestnuts. The distant, weak chirping of cicadas made the silence inside the hall even more profound. After a while, a soft and melodious song could be heard from the lake in front of the hall, carried by the wind. The voice was so soft that it was easy to miss if one didn't listen carefully. Upon closer listening, the song was gentle and melodious, like a yellow oriole singing softly among the dew-covered treetops at dawn, carrying a unique charm that touched the soul. The song gradually grew louder, and it was a woman in a slender silhouette on a small boat, slowly rowing closer. The woman's face was covered with a pink gauze, and she was dressed in light pink clothes, standing out against the green water and white lotuses like the most delicate cherry blossom on an early spring branch, so fragile that a breath could melt it, stirring a protective tenderness in the heart. Yet who she was remained a mystery to everyone, filling the room with suspicion and unease. Although her face was not seen, her voice alone was enough to make it clear to everyone that such a singer, with her captivating voice, was far superior to the famed singers of the past, making her a formidable rival in the competition for favor. Yet, her voice was so pleasing that no words of jealousy or resentment could be uttered against her. As she approached, her song became clearer, singing Lotus Leaves He Tian Tian, a common song sung by girls in the south while picking lotuses, expressing their longing and affection for their lovers. The simplicity of the song only highlighted the woman's intelligence and talent. Just as the true skill of a top chef is shown not in complex dishes but in the simplest ingredients like cabbage and tofu, the palace had many talented singers, but this woman alone caught my attention, making me marvel at her extraordinary grace. Her singing was full of emotion, like a lament or a yearning, with lingering notes that seemed endless. The lake was blooming with lotuses, the breeze was cool like jade, and her voice, clear and gentle, made the lotuses seem to weep and the orchids to smile, evoking a sense of endless spring sorrow and a melancholy yearning in the heart. Her pink dress fluttered in the lake breeze, graceful as if in dance, reflecting her slender figure in the water among the shimmering light and shadows, like a newly blossomed lotus, delicate and ethereal, akin to a celestial being floating on the water, embodying an indescribable elegance. Xianling, watching from afar, was mesmerized, speechless, and turned to look at the Empress with an intense gaze. The Empress, with a gentle focus on Xianling, softly remarked, "Although her singing may not be perfect, it does resemble her to some extent." Xianling appeared slightly disheartened, then quickly turned his attention back to the woman as if talking to himself. "It's already quite remarkable. After all, no one in this world can truly match her." The Empress's gaze dimmed, her lips still holding a smile, but she said no more. I was too far away to delve deep into their few words. As the boat approached, someone went to ask who she was. The woman in pink did not answer, instead plucking a blooming white lotus nearby and tossing it towards Xianling, continuing to sing the line "Lotus leaves deep, who's the girl?" throwing a lotus across the water, creating a mesmerizing scene. Xianling, without much thought, hurriedly stepped forward to catch the lotus, its cool water droplets wetting his sleeve, but he paid it no mind. Seeing this, everyone's expression changed dramatically, except for the Empress, who wore a gentle smile on her lips, observing quietly without speaking. Xianling caught the lotus in his hand and played with it smilingly, his gaze lingering on the slender figure of the woman. By the time the boat reached the shore, though her face was not visible, I could clearly see her figure, which felt strikingly familiar, startling me. I immediately thought of her damaged voice, which hadn't fully recovered, leaving me both shocked and doubtful. Glancing at Mei Zhuang, our eyes met with mutual surprise. The woman stretched out a slender, snow-white hand from afar, and Xianling couldn't help but reach out to assist her. As their hands met, the woman held a lotus root in hers. She smiled softly and said, "Thank you, Your Majesty." Her voice was delicate and clear, like the chirping of swallows. Xianling beamed. "If a beauty like you would grace my presence sooner, seeing you today and receiving a papaya from you, naturally, I should reciprocate with the finest jewels." Before he could finish, the Empress stood up with a smile. "Does Your Majesty know who she is?" Then, turning to the woman, she said, "Let His Majesty see your true face." The woman gracefully lifted her veil with a flick of her tender hand, revealing her features: eyebrows like swept green feathers, skin as white as snow, a waist like a slender bundle and teeth like pearls, exuding the elegance of a swallow in the breeze. I gasped slightly, shocked, and then felt a chill, realizing in an instant that it was none other than Lingrong. Xianling was also surprised. "Wasn't your voice damaged?" And Lingrong smiled sweetly, her cheeks blushing slightly. "The Empress ordered the imperial physician to take good care of me, and now I have recovered." Xianling sighed with joy. "Not only have you recovered, but your voice is even better than before." He turned to the Empress. "The Empress has been very thoughtful. Having such a virtuous Empress is my good fortune." The Empress's dignified eyes momentarily filled with emotion and affection, almost brimming with tears, but she quickly composed herself with a modest smile, showing no arrogance. "I only saw that your Majesty was distressed every day, so I resorted to this strategy, hoping to provide some comfort. It's good that your Majesty likes in beauty. I only wish for your Majesty's happiness and well-being." Moved by such profound sentiments, Xianling was touched. I too felt moved, never realizing the Empress's deep affection for Xianling, willing to offer someone else to him just for his happiness. Can love really be so generous and forgiving? Before I could ponder further, Xianling said, "And beauty was bestowed to me last year at this time." Holding in Lingrong's hand, he smiled tenderly at her blushing face, softly saying, "Let's promote her to a 5th-grade junior concubine." And Lingrong's gaze quickly swept over my face, full of apology. She then turned away, bowing respectfully. "Thank you for your Majesty's favor." Xianling laughed heartily. "And Lingrong has always been shy and gentle. Seeing her today is just like when she first entered the palace, without any change." And Lingrong modestly lowered her head, her shyness reminiscent of a delicate water lily swaying in the cool breeze. The red coral double happiness hairpin in her hair, with its trembling pearls, added to her charming appearance. She humbly said, "How could I be considered new? I'm merely old wine in a new bottle, and His Majesty does not disdain my simplicity." Xianling gently caressed her smooth chin with affection. "With you here, it's not the wine that intoxicates but the company. Being back in my embrace today should be celebrated with a song." And Lingrong turned her head slightly, in an innocent and compliant manner, and sang softly, "I urge you not to cherish the gold-threaded robe. I urge you to treasure your youth. When flowers bloom, they must be picked. Do not wait until the branches are bare." After her song ended, Xianling savored the moment for a long time. When he came back to his senses, his smile deepened. "When flowers bloom, they must be picked, so I shall pick you to keep, so you're not left alone on the branch." He then instructed Li Zhang, "Bring the gold-threaded robe for a junior concubine." Li Zhang was momentarily stunned but bowed and went to carry out the order. The gold-threaded robe was specially made by the late Emperor Longqing for consort Shu, and there were only 3 in the world. One was left in the palace, one was taken by consort Shu when she left the palace, and another was in the hands of Prince Qinghe. Such a grand gesture and favor nearly left everyone speechless and taken aback. Exine Guifei suddenly smiled, turning her head with a hint of acidity. "A beauty's new dress outshines her own heart. Sister and truly deserves a song that's worth 1,000 gold." I suddenly remembered that this song was the same one Lingrong sang last year when she found favor with Xianling, which elevated her to his favored consort. Back then, she was shy and nervous, far from today's ease and graceful singing. And now the song Gold-Threaded Robe not only represented her favor and glory, all the hardships and embarrassments of the past, and Lingrong had finally had her moment to shine. I couldn't define my feelings at that moment, whether happy or sad, feeling only a vast fog washing over my heart. I turned away quietly, my lips sealed, looking out from the chrysanthemum lake cloud shadow hall towards the distant lotus flowers, beyond which lay Prince Qinghe's temporary residence at the Luiweqian Pavilion. I heard that the pavilion was surrounded by joy-perfumed flowers, blooming like mist and falling like a colorful rain. Perhaps in such a bleak situation for Mei Zhuang and me, and Lingrong's sudden favor was a good thing for both her and us. However, a faint smile appeared on my lips. The gentle breeze carried the sound of music throughout the hall, a song and dance that could momentarily make one forget all sorrows. I drank deeply, wishing only to drown in the wine. I thought I no longer wished to think nor to remember. A month later, when I reviewed the records in the history books, Xianling had summoned me once, Jing Fei twice, Mei Zhuang twice, Chao Jieyu once, Shen Fei and Exine Guifei once each. His relationship with the Empress had improved significantly. In addition to the customary 15th of each month, there were also nights on the 7th, and aside from a few nights he rested alone, almost every other night was within Lingrong. In the imperial court, as in the harem, lineage and background matter, adding strength to one's position. And Lingrong's background couldn't be considered as humble as that of a palace maid. but it certainly wasn't distinguished. Xianling's favoritism towards her filled the harem with rumors and jealous whispers. And Lingrong's gentle and humble nature was perhaps the most suited to soothing Xianling's grief over the loss of his children. A woman's tenderness can often be the salve that heals a man's wounds. I sat quietly among the other consorts, listening to the Empress speak these words. Perhaps the Empress was right. Being Xianling's consort and having been by his side for many years, she naturally knew what kind of person could comfort and serve him best. The Empress, facing south, sat upright. Dressed in a water-red silk gown embroidered with intricate gold and silver cloud patterns, the detailed embroidery of her high collar made her look exceptionally dignified, rendering the usually delicate hue of water red into something more solemn. With a stern expression and a hint of strictness in her tone, the Empress said, "An junior concubine might come from a less honorable background, which explains your dissatisfaction. But now that the Emperor favors her, it is as if I favor her as well. Usually, I turn a blind eye to your petty jealousies and disputes, pretending not to notice. But now that she holds a special place in the Emperor's heart, if you dare to cross her, you are crossing both the Emperor and me." Suddenly, her voice became more stern. "Do you understand?" Despite their grievances, no one dared to express their discontent in front of the Empress. They had no choice but to swallow their pride and meekly agree. Seeing their acquiescence, the Empress softened her demeanor and spoke more earnestly. "I have no other choice. If each of you were competent and could all win the Emperor's favor, I wouldn't need to bother with such arrangements." She sighed. Now that Consort K and Consort Chun are gone, Consort Murong has lost the Emperor's favor, and Consort Guan is unwell. With the decline of the consorts, should we really hold an extraordinary selection, causing much ado and introducing many new faces, which would surely displease you even more? The Emperor has always liked an junior concubine. It was only because of her throat condition that she was sent to recuperate. You all know she has a good temperament. Having her by the Emperor's side isn't the worst outcome. With these words from the Empress, and Lingrong simply sat quietly in her place, bowing her head in silence, indifferent to the surrounding conversation. In the grand mahogany chair, only her delicate and slender figure under the luxurious clothing and the glimmering pearls in her black hair could be seen. With the Empress speaking in such a way, everyone had their own thoughts but were left speechless. Each harbored their own strategies and understood that an N with no distinguished family background was easier to deal with than an influx of new beauties. Moreover, who could say when her favor might wane and the Emperor's affection might turn to someone else? Thus, they readily promised not to make things difficult for An Lingrong. The Empress breathed a sigh of relief, her gaze then falling on me as she spoke more kindly. "Don't take the matter of an junior concubine to heart. The Emperor needs companionship, and it's fortunate that An and you are close. I only saw her as someone who could alleviate the Emperor's worries with her singing. Everything I do is for the Emperor's sake." I rose nervously, replying with respect, "Your Majesty speaks too seriously. As long as it's for the Emperor, how could I feel aggrieved?" The Empress's expression softened. "You've always understood the big picture, and the Emperor has always liked you for that, which reassures me. But seeing you grieving for the child and in poor health, the Emperor cannot be without someone to serve him. It's better for you to recuperate and then serve the Emperor again." I understood the deeper meaning behind the Empress's words. An Lingrong's prominence was by her design, and naturally she would favor her more, not wanting anyone to overshadow An Lingrong's current glory. I respectfully acknowledged, "The Empress's arrangements are surely best." As I was leaving, the Empress added, "The matter with Consort Murong has aggrieved you. The Dowager Empress knows about your child and has expressed her condolences for a long time. I heard the Dowager Empress is in better spirits today. You should go and inquire about her well-being." I was intently listening to the Empress discuss An Lingrong, but when she suddenly mentioned my loss, a sharp pang of sorrow struck my heart, reviving painful memories. However, I couldn't let my emotions show on my face, so I bowed my head more deeply to conceal my sadness, responding softly with a yes.
Follow us to avoid getting lost and enjoy endless exciting stories. For more content, please go to the Story Wall homepage to view more exciting novels.